I will tell you guys the biggest complaints that I have observed regarding the weapons. Jennifer's bow is not gold. Finnick's trident is not gold. Finnick's trident seems to have 4 points rather than 3. And those are the only complaints I've seen. And then the only other weapon that we get to see, I believe, is Joanna's axe. So, yeah, thoughts on this. How do you feel about the weapon design? Crystal, you spent a lot of time studying the Trident. Can you sort of tell us how you think it's been designed?
I mean, I don't really know much about weapons, but I counted 4 points, so I was kind of confused as to why that's a trident. But I mean, in the end, I still think it looks really awesome. So, and it looks really deadly. So I don't know. Overall, I'm not too bothered with it. I was just a little confused. I mean, maybe somebody who knows about weapons can tell me why it has 4.
Do we have any weapons experts here? I think we spent a lot of time looking at pictures of the Trident last week, and I think we kind of figured out that it has, like, 3 blades, but then in the center there's, like, this spear point.
Yeah,
so,
it kind of looks like a spear with, like, a trident attachment or something.
Yeah, which I think is pretty cool. Adam, you're a man, and men, men know about weapons, right? What? I'm joking. But how?
I think
we do want to.
I think we all know that I fall much more into the lover category than the fighter category, Savanna. So, just think that we need to preface by saying that. But the weapons look fine to me. I had not really noticed these specific little things that you mentioned, and I give a lot of credit to fans for being this obsessed and this knowledgeable to the point of exact color and things like that. I think the weapons are fine. Again, I'm not as caught up, not as nitpicking about details. And by the looks of it, I think they'll be perfectly acceptable for the film and do their purpose, just like I like the silver arrows in the first film and the way Katniss shot them. So I'm looking forward to some more weaponry in the hands of our beloved hero and heroine.
Any ideas as to why they decided not to make them gold? This production seems to have a history of taking things that are gold and making them silver. For example, the cornucopia. Does anyone have any ideas about why they might not have made them gold?
Maybe black and silver would match their outfits a little better. I don't know. And maybe the cornucopia is not going to be gold.
Just the overall aesthetic.
Yeah, I think the gold would look a little tacky.
I mean, I'm down with the weapons, and that is an understatement. Because I am a fan of movie props. I'm a huge fan.
You might be careful how close you get to those weapons, Courtney. You might be down by these
I try
weapons.
not to get really excited. Because I love Lord of the Rings Extended Edition, special features, and them talking about how they built all those weapons and stuff. And so when I saw these, I was like, they're so cool and badass. And I really liked how they modified the Trident. I thought it was really practical. It looked dangerous, yet it was small and practical. And they really improved. I thought the last movie, Bow and Arrow, was really sweet. And I think that, this one, they made it different, but not so different. I am just, geeking out over the weapons. And then Peeta's, got a machete or something. That was cool.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm
cool.
Definitely, I am into the weapons. And regarding the gold, I think, Kait, was it you who brought up the word tacky? I think that is probably what they were trying to avoid, by, eliminating the blue wetsuits and the purple belt. It's great to read about in a book, but, you watch this, very serious film and you've got characters in, wearing blue and purple and carrying gold weapons, and maybe they were afraid that it would take away from, that sort of very ominous tone. Speaking of Cinna, where is Katniss's Mockingjay pin?
Maybe it's hidden
in
again.
these photos.
Well, we've had a theory floating around about that, right? Isn't it Shyla's theory?
It's a very sad theory.
Should we share that theory?
Do share.
Share.
I must know.
So I guess
Go ahead, Savanna.
Okay, I'll try to recall what the theory was, and this is from Shyla, right? Was this her original theory?
Yeah.
So her theory is that Cinna is about to pin the pin on Katniss when he, I mean, everyone listening has read Catching Fire, I'm assuming. So he's about to pin the pin when he's attacked, and it, falls to the ground, and I guess she's kind of, shoved in the tube and goes up, and the pin's just there, covered in blood on the ground.
That is a sad theory. Aww.
I have to agree that was when I was wondering what it was, I was like, that was the only possible thing that I could think of, as opposed to it being hidden was it wasn't as epic as that in my mind, which I hope it is, but I think that would be a really cool way to do that.
It would be good for storytelling too, because he's the one that sneaks it to her in the first movie. So
right, it would just rub salt into that wound, make it more dramatic. Which let's do it, because Cinna is super important.
Yeah, that's a scene, by the way, that I've tried not to picture. It's gonna be rough. I'll just leave it at that with Cinna in movie 2. Unfortunately.
And Wordy has confirmed that you are going to see that, I believe. I'm 98% sure.
Yeah, he
Kait,
said
you sound almost excited for it. Kait, am I interpreting your voice inflection correctly?
Well,
excited as a film goer.
Yes, I think it's an important scene to see, in that without it, you're kind of, you completely lose the story for that character, because you don't find out what happened to him. He would just disappear. And I think that if you're really going to show the brutality of the Capitol outside the arena cropping up, you need that scene in there.
No, I agree with you. I'm just, let me rephrase. I know it's going to be a spectacular scene for the film. I'm just...
You're just going to cry?
I'm not going to cry. I won't cry. I can show you that, But I mean, Lenny Kravitz still has some songs he needs to write. I don't want to see him brutal and bloodied. So that's, I guess, that image is hard to take, but it will be worth taking. So we're on the same page.
On a similar note, just to speed things up a bit, and we don't really have to discuss this, but I just want to point out for those who are listening who might not have noticed, but hopefully you did. I was really, really, really pleased when I saw these things. In the set photos, you can see Finnick's gold bangle with the flame designs that Haymitch gives him, and you can see Peeta's locket, which is square, which I think is kind of cool. I imagined it as round, because I think they describe it as being a disc in the book, and I pictured kind of a round thing, but it's kind of rectangular, which is nice. It's kind of more manly looking, I guess you could say. Anyone have any quick thoughts about these additions? Are we just all really excited that they're there?
The disappearing locket? The locket that disappears between images? The locket that disappears between
does it?
I mean, there's certain, you see the one when he's on the pedal, you see him have it. And then when they're on the beach, you don't see it. And then it, different in different set. Now, I mean, it may be supposed to be but the shirtless photos, he does not have a locket on. So I don't know if they put it on, if that's just in between scenes and then they add it later. And then the scene on the beach with the fish and stuff, he's not wearing it then either. So, or at least it's not noticeable. So it's the disappearing locket. Where is it?
That's very strange. I have two final questions, and one of them Well, one of them's a question, and then one of them is another complaint slash mystery, I guess you could say, that fans have been wondering about. So in the set photos of Josh, Jennifer, and Sam, I can never decide if I want to call them by their names or their characters' names, but when those three are on the beach together, there's really only one moment in the book when it's only Peeta, Finnick, and Katniss on a little tiny strip of beach together, and that is after they have been through the poisonous fog and after Mags has died. And, if you'll recall in the books, at that point, they're pretty messed up. Like the fog has created sores on their skin that they're scratching constantly. Their wetsuits basically get eaten away. Like, I think they go without their wetsuits for the most part for the rest of the book. And from what we can see in these set photos, their wetsuits look totally intact. There's a little bit of kind of like singeing, it looks like, on Peeta's maybe. They don't look like they've been through anything. And I've seen a lot of fans who are confused about this, especially since one of the big complaints regarding the first movie was the fact that they didn't really look beat up enough at the end. So is that a concern? Anyone? Feel free to comment. Theresa, I know you have the book memorized, I think, at this point. What do you think? What is your take on this? Like, shouldn't they look just like they've been, through poisonous fog?
Yeah.
What's a possible explanation?
The only thing I can think of is they're changing the nature of the fog, and it doesn't do as much physical damage as it does into nerves. And they're, that it's not going to. I mean, that's the only thing I can think of, is that it's just that it'll be more like a nerve toxin and not blistering and not, this physically damaging, physically look damaging. So I mean, that's the only thing I can think of, because otherwise I don't know. I don't know why they couldn't have done that unless they're, just they changed the nature of the toxin for some reason.
Is it possible that those effects would be really difficult to achieve, or is it possible that, maybe they didn't want them sort of half naked for the rest of the film? Like maybe they didn't want to make this about, like, Josh Hutcherson and Sam Claflin in their physiques, you know what I mean?
Maybe they didn't want to cover up Josh's tattoos?
Oh, maybe so. Yeah, let's not even talk about that lovely anchor tattoo.
I don't think it would have been difficult for them to even, like, rough up the jumpsuits just a little bit, The only thing I can think of is if that's just, like, not where that is in the timeline, or who knows what they've done. Who knows what they're going to do to the arena timeline. I don't think, it seems like they're going to try and stick to it as much as they can, but that's the only other reason I can think of why their suits look, like, perfectly fine. I mean, I don't know, we're just going to have to see, but I am kind of disappointed that they're not at least a little raggedy. They don't have to be, like, half naked, even a little bit would be acceptable.
Yeah, you could just have, like holes kind of in areas of the wetsuit.
Right.
Or even just parts of their arms, like, burnt or torn off. It doesn't have to be, like, the whole thing.